Today, Palm Sunday, is a reflection on the meaning of Jesus' entrance into Jerusalem for what would become the final week of his life, a week we call Holy. He entered the city from the east, riding on a donkey with a crowd waving palm branches. Why? Why enter from the east? Why ride a donkey? Why wave palm branches? At the time of Jesus, Jerusalem had a population of between 40 to 70,000 people. Like most Jewish cities at that time, a Roman garrison of troops would occupy the city along with inhabitants. During the major festivals, Rome would send troops to reinforce the already existing military presence in order to keep the peace and manage the influx of pilgrims. At the season of Passover, Roman troops led by the Roman governor would enter the city through the west. Their procession would be a magnificent sight of imperial power meant to remind the people of the path to Roman peace, wealth, power, and violence. But on the other side of the city, perhaps at the exact same time, Jesus would also enter the city. But Jesus would not ride on a war horse with soldiers. Jesus would ride on a donkey, reenacting Zechariah's vision of a king of peace. Zechariah chapter 9, verses 9 and 10 says, "Behold, your king is coming to you, a just Savior is he, humble and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. He shall banish the chariot from Ephraim and the horse from Jerusalem. The warrior's bow will be banished, and he will proclaim peace to the nations." The Jesus historian Marcus Borg wrote that Jesus was not mechanically fulfilling a prophecy. Rather, he chose a known symbol from his tradition in order to say that the kingdom of which he spoke was a kingdom of peace, not war. So, Jesus enters Jerusalem with peasants waving palm branches, a symbol of life, while Rome enters Jerusalem with soldiers waving swords, a symbol of violence. While the soldiers and crowds gathered on the west side, proclaiming the glory and might of Rome and its emperor, according to the Gospel of Luke, the peasants on the east proclaimed, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven and glory in the highest." You see, Jesus' procession was a demonstration of nonviolent resistance to Roman imperialism. In this demonstration, he was appealing for Jerusalem to follow the path of peace, even as his generation was headed to war with Rome. Today, we believe in faith that the living Christ offers our generation the same alternative vision of peace on earth. Not an earthly peace established through empire, violence, and victimization, but the peace of heaven established through love, restorative justice, and compassion. Today, we sing with the peasants and symbolically wave our palm branches, knowing that our salvation from human violence and oppression is found in the peacemaking path of Jesus.
Whoops. I don't know if that was me or what happened, but hey, good morning. Welcome to Crossroads. My name is Isaac Bartholomew, and in my normal everyday life, I'm a chief operating officer for a digital transformation and marketing company, and Bonfire Effect is the name of it, in Fort Collins, Colorado. But welcome to all of you here. Happy Palm Sunday. Yeah, it's Palm Sunday. And to celebrate Palm Sunday, there's only really one way to do that. Why don't you guys stand up and give some high fives, literal high fives, to get palm to palm on Palm Sunday? What do you think? Let's do that. I know COVID came in and we went to the fist bump, but let's do fives, high fives, everybody. Palm Sunday. Say happy Palm Sunday to everybody. There you are. Good morning. Yeah, so as you're giving those high fives on this fine Palm Sunday, I know I'm getting stares from people in the back, but it's the start of Holy Week here at Crossroads, and this week, the week leading up to Easter, hopefully you've been following along with the Lent journey, and you're ready to step into the Good Friday experience and Easter Sunday next weekend. We'll talk a little bit more about all of that here in a minute, but first, as you came in today, you should have received a program that looks a lot like this one. If not, simply raise your hand up, and we have our awesome volunteers like Mary right here. Everybody say, hey, Mary! Hey, so if you need a program, she'll send you one, get you one. She may fold it up like an airplane and throw it over to you. But there you go. And if you're new here today, welcome again. And this program folder is specifically designed for you. It'll give you tons of helpful information as we go through our service today. So inside your program, there are a few things that I want to point out. So everyone, go ahead and pull out that card that looks like this one here, the Connect card. Everybody can do that. Whether you're new or not, go ahead and pull it out. And if you're online, you can click on the Connect card in the app under the Weekends section. But the Connect card is for everyone to fill out every single week. So if you're a regular attender, just put your name on and email address and check the box Regular Attender. Or if you're new here, please check the box New Here and fill out as much information as you feel comfortable sharing. Again, if this is your first time connecting with us this morning, welcome, and we're glad that you're here, and we have a special gift just for you. It's the book called The God We Never Knew, and it's especially helpful if you are deconstructing ways of thinking about God that we were handed, or that you were handed, that you no longer believe makes sense to you. So on your way out of the auditorium, if you want to grab that book from one of the tables in the back, or better yet, why don't you come visit me at the Fresh Perspectives banner in the atrium following the service. I would love to meet you and answer any questions you have. And if I don't have the answers to your questions, don't worry, I'll make it up. That's not true. I'll find the answers for you. Also, directly following the service is our Proud Peacemakers meet and mingle upstairs in the living room of the church offices. And so if you're an ally or a member of the queer community, you're invited to come and meet others in this safe space who might share a similar journey. And in light of this being Holy Week, the Proud Peacemakers gathering that would normally happen on the third Saturday will not take place. Instead, we'll pick it up again in May with the second Sunday and third Saturday gathering. So if you'd like more information about the Proud Peacemakers to stay up to date with your schedule, check the box on the back of your Connect card again. You'll see that as a common theme. We got a lot on the back of this Connect card today. So check that out and make those connections where you can. So then, Easter is just 7 days away, 1 week from today, and we're so excited for another fantastic Easter here with Crossroads. There will be 2 identical services, one at 9 a.m. and one at 11 a.m. And in between these services, in between these services at 10 a.m., we'll share a light continental breakfast and a big Easter egg hunt for the kids at 10:20. So whether you stay after the 9 a.m. or you come early for the 11, we hope that you'll plan to join us in the middle at that 10 a.m. hour. So with Easter being such a big weekend around here, there are a few extra opportunities to volunteer. And we would welcome that and would need some help for this weekend for our community coming up. So we're still in need of these volunteers and on the hospitality team in particular, but for the good and for the Good Friday experience. So if you're interested in helping out with that, again, this is a one-time commitment. You can, over the Easter weekend, simply check the appropriate box, again, on the back of your Connect card. See the theme that's coming up? And our team will be in touch with you soon. Okay, so that's all I have for you right now. So I'm going to turn it over to the band. So would you stand, and if you're able, and we'll get started with our service.
We can say all of the right things, preach a sermon all day long, and still get it wrong. Gotta have love. Whoa, they're gonna know us by our love. We could build the tallest steeples, lift our voices to the sky, but they'll only get so high without love. Oh, they're gonna know us by our love. So come on, all my sisters and brothers, we can all give a little more help to each other when it's all been said and done. They're gonna know us by our love. get to where we're going, do we decide to let them go? All our reasons to withhold, all our love. Oh, never make it without love. No, so come on, all my sisters and brothers. We can all give a little more help to each other when it's all been said and done. They're gonna know us by our love.
Welcome to Crossroads Church. Whether you're connecting online, in person, or on demand, thank you for making this time part of your week. If you are new to Crossroads, you might be asking yourself, what is this place all about? Well, it's pretty simple. Peace on earth. We are an open and affirming community of people committed to following the peacemaking path of Jesus. And this peacemaking path leads us to focus our work on rewriting what we call the 5 unacceptable truths. These unacceptable truths are 5 realities that hinder human flourishing and destroy peace on earth. Together, we work to replace spiritual emptiness with spiritual vitality, poverty with physical and financial flourishing, fear of the other with inclusion and affirmation, illiteracy with education and opportunity, and modern-day slavery with freedom. This is what we mean when we say, hope is here. Over the next hour, we will experience the divine mystery together as we sing a few songs, listen for wisdom, and share in communion so that we might leave here inspired and equipped to follow the peacemaking path of Jesus in our everyday, normal lives. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God.
Reach out now, take a hand, help somebody while we can. Things will get better when we learn to love somebody, love somebody. Reach out now and take a hand, help somebody while we can. Things will get better when we learn to love somebody, love somebody. Reach out now and take a hand, help somebody while we can. Things will get better when we learn to love somebody, love somebody. Reach out now and take a hand, help somebody while we can. Things will get better when we learn to love somebody, love somebody. So come on, all my sisters and brothers. We can all give a little more help to each other when it's all been said and done. They're gonna know us by our love. When it's all been said and done, they're gonna know us by our love. Please go ahead, have a seat, grab your talk notes, and Ryan will be out shortly.
Hey, good morning. Happy Palm Sunday. How many of you came like super excited about a Palm Sunday message? Yeah, sorry. It's not going to happen. If you would like a Palm Sunday message, I'll see if Kia will post that in the app. I've got one Palm Sunday message. I've delivered it 3 times here. We're going to wrap up the series today with a little different topic, but it is Palm Sunday, and if you were paying attention to the video, you got it. Oh, I'd love to start the day off disappointing people. It's my jam. So, hey, my name is Ryan. I'm the lead pastor here at Crossroads. If you are a guest this morning, thank you so much for being here. Inside the program is my cell phone number. Love to have coffee, whiskey, breakfast, dinner at any point in time. Answer any questions you might have about our church, about myself, get to know you a little bit more. Thank you for being here. If you're tuning in online for the first time, thank you so much for being here. I want to get us started today because we're wrapping up this series, Love is Louder. And I want to start with a little review, okay? Just like where we've been, and then I want to have a kind of heart-to-heart talk. So whenever I'm sitting down, you're like, uh-oh. he's going to say something that I'm not going to like. And no, I think you're going to like what I have to say today, but I think for some of us it might be a little mind-bending. For others it won't. But, so let's just review where we've been, especially for those of you, this might be your first time here, your second time here. We started this series 7 weeks ago actually, with a little prelude with Aisha, who did a great, wonderful job talking about this great parable of the Samaritan and the question that was asked, who's my neighbor? What does that look like? And then we kind of went into this series with this first week, the second week, which was really talking about this idea of separation. And we said that real or imagined separation, whichever it is, produces fear, guilt, and anxiety. And this was really what the story of Genesis 2 is all about in the garden. That all of a sudden we find ourselves recognizing that we're different than one another. And we other each other, and we feel separated, and we have fear, anxiety, guilt. And we said that the solution, the antidote to that experience, to what really plagues human existence, is love. That love overwhelms separation, love that is louder, right? And so really this whole series for the next 4 weeks, we started to say, let's define love. Like, what is love? And we said that, first of all, love that is louder than separation, it cares. That if we're going to say we love, we have to care. And then we said love that is louder than separation takes responsibility for the other and is respectful of the other. And that respect is important because respect means that we don't end up controlling people. We don't tell them what to do, what to believe in our love, anything like that. So we balance respect for the person, but also we take responsibility for their well-being and what we can do to contribute to that. And then we said that a love that is louder than separation knows a person beyond stats and facts. And we talked about this idea of union with a person, of getting to know them at a deeper level than just knowing things about them. And then last week, we talked about Jesus and this encounter that he had with a guy named Zacchaeus, and how when Jesus used the word salvation, it had nothing to do with this idea of a sinner's prayer. It had nothing to do with inviting him into your heart. It had nothing to do with confessing his divinity. Had nothing to do with that. But he says that salvation has come to Zacchaeus. Why? Because he too is a son of Abraham, is what Jesus said. And that was because he had come to believe that he wasn't part of the tribe, that he didn't belong to the Jews, that he was an outsider, right? And so Jesus acted in such a way, he loved in such a way that it overwhelmed that lie of separation, and it transformed Zacchaeus. And we really said that authentic, genuine love does what? It creates more love. It generates love. It's generative. It's a creative act. And that when we are actually creating love, when we're loving someone, we are making ourselves lovable, right? And if we're not doing that, then we're doing something else. Okay, so that's kind of where we've been. If you haven't been able to miss, if any one of those sounds interesting and you'd like to hear way too many words on any of those topics, some of you are like, why don't I just come to the last week of this series? I can get like 6 hours of talk in the 4 minutes, you know? So as long as you give online, that's fine. It doesn't bother me one bit. So, all right. So today I want to have a little heart-to-heart conversation. Is that okay? I really didn't want to do talk notes today because I wanted to just be able to, I think, essentially share as I felt needed to on some things, but I know how some of you get without the talk notes. And I didn't want to disappoint you with no Palm Sunday message and no talk notes. Like that's a recipe for not paying the electric bill this week. So for those of you that are feeling that way. So, but I need you to do me a favor. I need you to get your cell phone out, okay? Get your cell phone out. I know you usually in church, they tell you to silence them, but I want you to get your cell phone, which means I got to get mine. Hold on, because you're going to be texting me. Hold on. I'm right here. Okay, here we go. Okay, I forgot I was doing this, but we're going to do this quickly, okay? So what I need you to do is in your message, open up your message app, your text message app, and you're going to text me, okay? And this is my number. Don't abuse it. All right? It's out there everywhere, so it's no big deal. But, okay. Put this number in your messaging, but don't message me anything yet. I mean, you can if you want to, but 207, I'm watching to see who's fast, 608 1106. 207-608-1106, all right? Some of you are like, this is the craziest church I've ever been to, all right? Now, I want you to text me. I'm going to give you 30 seconds, so you got to think fast. I want you to text me what you think or what you think people think. Somebody just texted me. Thank you. You know the question before somebody looked at the back screen. Let's see. You da bomb. Thank you, Casey. I appreciate that. All right. I always feel better about myself now. Okay. I'm going to talk faster because of that. Okay. I want you to text me or answer this question. What do you think it means, or what have you heard people think it means to love God? To love God. So when someone says, I love God, or you're supposed to love God, or when I say, stand up here and say to you, love God, like what does that mean to you? What does that mean to you or to someone else? And I want to see what I'm getting here. Faith, okay. Love my neighbor. Oh my gosh, they're coming in so fast. I feel so popular. This is the best day ever. Okay, here we go. To do the things, that's good. To love his creation. Putting God, oh my gosh, it's literally going so fast. I can't even, okay, have faith. Okay, putting God, we did that one. Okay, go to church. Trust. Oh, if I put my finger on it, it slows it down. Good. Love others, love goodness. How about if I say something that kind of makes sense to you, you give me a what, or an amen, or a hell yeah, whatever, okay? That was from last week. That's a throwback from last week. Love others, love goodness, trust, to have relationship with him and follow his ways, to believe he's the creator and he is love, trust in God, be true to yourself and others, relationship, show love outwardly, kind to others, to embrace his message and love. Any of these make sense to you? You're awful quiet, so none of them guess, okay. Loving others, hope, loving God to me. Oh, I had one here, okay. To live as God wants us to live. Let's see, this one looks like there might be more than just one text. Somebody's an overachiever. Let's see here. Peace, to love God means to have peace, to care for his children, faith in a loving, creative God who loves me unconditionally no matter what happens. Community, draw close, blindly obey. There's a smiley face, not smiley face with that one, kind of like a, huh. This was the emoji. Huh. I want you to get the impression of that. Love others, draw close. Lean into my faith in a divine creator who loves all of his creation. Care for his children in creation. Patience. I think it means to love yourself and others unconditionally because God is in all of us. Somebody read the notes for today. I love it. These are great. Hope, faith, unconditional love, to follow his loving ways and show that to others, right? That's great. Okay, put your phones down. Stop texting me. It's going to be confusing if I keep getting texts, all right? You could see, like, when we say that out there, we get all kinds of responses, right? I'm not saying any of those are wrong or right. They're just different. And the reality is loving God can mean lots of different things. And this shows you, like, when someone says, love God, like, I can say that and I can have a thought in my head, but for as many people as there are in this room or tuning in online, they're thinking about it maybe differently. Right? That's the problem with some of this, the language that we have inside of faith, is that it's somewhat esoteric and cloudy. And you go, well, what does that mean? So for some people, like we said, it's being active in a church. Or for some people, it means obeying what they believe God asks or God demands of us. Here's the reason why I think we need to think about this is, if you think about the history of not just Christianity, but religion in general, right? And I know that's like, to define religion is very, very tricky. But if we think about religion in kind of like the common way we would, like when we say love God, the reality is I think that phrase and that command, that idea has been used to manipulate and control people. Like, give me a hand raise if that resonates with you a little bit. Right? That you've heard the phrase like love God and you felt like, well, wait a second, like this idea of loving God is really serving the institution that's telling me to love God. Right? So if I love God, I'm going to go take Jerusalem. That might be like the simple line of the Crusades, right? If I love God, I'm going to go colonize the people in another continent, and I'm going to use the name of God for that because I'm going to save them. Right? Like, we use that phrase, and then we can like fast forward to this world, to love God, right? To love God is to give. Like, if you love God, then you will give in the offering. If you love God, you'll volunteer. And it's important because like the very heart of this Jesus story, right? The very heart of it all is this claim that Jesus made that loving God was the greatest commandment, right? Like he's asked in Matthew chapter 22, right? It says that one of the Pharisees, an expert, right, in the law, tested him. And he asked him this question, teacher, which is the greatest commandment? What's the greatest commandment in all the law? Now remember, there's 613 laws just in the Hebrew scriptures. Forget about the cultural norms that were then put on by, say, the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the scribes. But we can pull out 613 commandments. And Jesus is asked, what's the greatest? What's the most important? Which one do you think? And Jesus replies, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. He says, this is the first and the greatest commandment. Boom, mic drop, bam, end of discussion. Well, wait, but hold on a second. What does that even mean? I mean, we just asked the question here to a room full of 6,000 people. And we got 7,000 different answers. So what does that mean to love God? And it's like Jesus knew that. Like it's such an obvious question when you give that answer. It's kind of like, keep the Sabbath holy. What does that mean? Right? Like, it's one of the arguments as to why the Bible is kind of a terrible rule book, you know? Okay, love God, but like, it seems that Jesus knew that the obvious question and the obvious abuses that would follow from just saying love God, that could be used to create power structures, that could be used for people to get their way, that could be used to manipulate. So he knows there's confusion in the room. And so he goes on, right? He goes for the extra credit, right? The test. How many of you went to school with somebody that always wrote a few more words than they were supposed to for their papers, and you were like, oh yeah, you're better than me, I get it. Right? You're supposed to write one paragraph on the essay, and they write two, making everybody else look bad. That's Jesus here, right? So Jesus is asked, what's the greatest commandment? And he gives the greatest commandment, but then it's like he knows that there's a problem here. So he goes on and he says, and I'm also going to give you the second one. Why? Because the second one is like it. Or in other words, the second one is a derivative of. The second one is the same thing. The second one will help you understand what I just said, and that is love your neighbor as yourself. Now we're getting now it's a little easier, right? To understand, well, what is it? I love myself, okay. Like, if I love myself, I care for myself, I take responsibility for myself, I learn, I grow, I eat, I sleep, whatever. And he says all the law and the prophets, in other words, all of the scriptures that we have, they hang on these two commandments. They flow out of it, right? Like this is the source. Jesus is saying, if you really want to know what life is all about, if you really want to know how to organize society, which, by the way, most of the commandments that we find in those 613 was a way about organizing a society in ancient Israelite realities. What that looked like. He says, but if you really want to know, like where all those particulars flow from, they flow from the general of love your neighbor. So in Matthew, right, I'm looking specifically at this little exchange in Matthew. In Matthew, loving God means loving yourself with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, and loving your neighbor with equal zeal. I like defining terms. And Matthew says there's going to be lots of issues here. There's going to be lots of problems. So he has this story. He tells us about Jesus. And Jesus says, here's the thing. The most important thing you've got to do in life, what life is about, is loving God. Whew, okay. But what does that mean? Well, I can look on you. See the look on your face? It's so confusing. That means you got to love your neighbor like you love yourself. And you could just hear it, right? The same questions you're asking right now. But what about my neighbor who hates me? What about my neighbor who doesn't believe like me or who votes differently than me? What about my neighbor who oppresses? What about my neighbor who has done harm? Can't I just hate the people who are dangerous and evil in the world? Like, they're like dangerous and evil. Like, Well, it's a good question. 1 John chapter 4, verse 20 gives us a little insight. It says this, it says, those who say, I love God, and hate a brother or sister are liars. For those who do not love a brother or sister whom they have seen cannot love God whom they have not seen. And I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. You're going, yeah, but Ryan, that says brothers and sisters. Are you trying to tell me like the people that hate me are my brothers and sisters? I don't think so. Like, you're asking this question, who's my brother and who's my sister, right? Like, how many of you are asking that question? Let's be honest. Anybody want to raise their hand and be brave enough and say, yeah, let's define some terms here, Jesus. Okay, that's good. Well, it sounds like the same question we started with. Who's my neighbor? And we know from that parable of the Samaritan, I don't call it the Good Samaritan because that's racist. There's only one Samaritan that was good. That'll mess with you right there. You will hopefully never call it the story of the Good Samaritan again. It's just the story of the Samaritan. It could be called the story of the bad leaders. That's what it could be called. But what's the question to get out of the hard work? Who's my neighbor? And ultimately, Jesus says, well, your neighbor is anybody you have the opportunity to help. Like, that's your neighbors. And so when we ask the question to try and get out of the obligation, to try and get out of the responsibility, we should remind ourselves that we have another beautiful story in the gospel where they're coming and they're like, Jesus, your mother is waiting for you. Your brothers, you need to go out there. And he looks around at everybody who's with him, everybody who's listening to him. And we know that when Jesus gathered a crowd, they weren't all for him. And what did he say? He said, these are my brothers and my sisters. This is my family. In other words, he's saying everybody is. Everybody is. I mean, Jesus is the one who said, love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you. And we could take it a step further. Like, he even tells this great story where he says, consider the birds of the air and the lilies of the field, like these creative things that are part of our world that are non-human. Look at how much God loves them and cares for them, right? Even the things that we can see but we can't necessarily communicate with, I would suggest could fit into this category of brothers and sisters. I love, St. Francis used to call them like brother rabbit, brother squirrel. Right? I think I would have been a good Franciscan. I think I could have rocked that robe. That's all I'm going to say. Right? And I think what 1 John is telling us is until we love the ones we see, we can't love the one we can't see. It's impossible. The only way I think that we love God is by loving what we see, by loving who we see. And so who can you see? What can you see? What can you care for? What can you take responsibility for? What can you respect? What can you know? Right? Those four aspects of genuine love. Well, I can see myself. How many of y'all like to look at yourself in the mirror? Be honest. I can see myself. I can see you. I can see my enemies. I can see the people I disagree with. I can see plants. I can see animals. I can see creation. And it's not until I can love those things that I can see that I can honestly say I'm loving God, that I love God. That's what 1 John. Now, we can choose to believe that or not believe that, but that makes sense to me. How can I say I love something I can't see when I can choose to ignore what I can see? And now you're asking the question, but Ryan, like, you haven't talked about the good stuff yet. Like loving God, okay, but what about like the religious practices? Don't I get credit for sitting through this? Like, I mean, well, what about all the singing that we do? What about like giving? Like, I've written a big check today. I want some credit for that. Like, I volunteered. I made the coffee this morning. I spend once a month with the kids. Please tell me that counts. Like, I don't know what's going on today. There's something called bubble soccer happening with our students. I have no idea what it is. Like, I'm playing bubble soccer today with a bunch of middle schoolers. That has to count for something. Isn't that part of loving God? Well, Amos chapter 5. prophetic voice who's looking around at his country. He's looking around at the leadership. He's looking around at what's actually happening. And he says, you know what? If God were here, this is what God would say. I despise your festivals. I take no delight in your solemn assemblies. Even though you offer me your burnt offerings and grain offerings, I won't accept them. And the offerings of well-being of your fatted animals, I won't look upon them. Take them away. Take away the noise of your songs. I'm not going to listen to these melodies of your harps. Like what Amos just says, these are the equivalents of all of our religious practices. I don't care if you play bubble soccer. I don't care if you write a check for $1 million. Ryan might, but I don't. I don't care if you write a check for $5. I don't care if you volunteer. I don't care if you come every week. If you're there more than Ryan is, I don't care. Why? Because Amos says, here's what matters. Let justice roll down like water and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. Like Amos looked around and he saw the lack of care, the lack of responsibility, the lack of respect, the lack of knowing the needs of the people. And he looked at the leadership and he said, you can bring all of this stuff, but it means nothing. Paul would say, you can speak in the language of tongues, but you're just a resounding gong if you don't have love. It doesn't matter. And I want, for those of you that are like, you're kind of going in like, yeah, see, Ryan, righteousness. Like, that's morality. Sorry. Justice and righteousness mean the same thing in this passage. It's what's called parallelism in Hebrew poetry. What is A is more B. It's a repetitive line. Justice and righteousness are the same thing. Righteousness is the way in which you treat people rightly. Not, I fulfilled all the do's and don'ts of my morality, which are fine, and you can do that. I'm not saying don't do that. But let's not mistake that that's what this text is saying. This text is Amos, like losing his mind, looking around. And we should remember that loving God, believing in God, having faith in God, worshiping God, praying to God, trusting God, listening for God, giving to or for God, whatever language you use, that is not loving God. Those are different things. The text, that is not loving God, because spiritual practices can easily replace loving God, because I would suggest that those things are far easier to do than loving your enemy. I would suggest that those things are far easier to do than sacrificing your own abundance so that someone might have enough. All these spiritual practices, going to church, singing, giving, all those things, it has to flow first and foremost from a healthy understanding of what does it mean to say, love God. And you say, well, but Ryan, this is a good one. I know you're thinking it. You're saying, but Ryan, didn't Jesus say, if you love me, you will keep my commandments? That's what you're thinking. It's a good one. Yeah, John 14 is what you're thinking about. Jesus did say that. My question would be, what did Jesus actually command? I'm going to leave you a new command in John. He says that you would love each other. He says, what's the greatest commandment? Love God, right? So yeah, absolutely, sure. I mean, we're driven at understanding love God in the right way sets the intention of our spiritual practices. If I understand love of God in the way in which Jesus prescribes it, to love yourself and to love your neighbor, then my spiritual practice, the intention of why I do those things is that I might grow in how I love God and how I love others, right? Like it sets the intention. If I think loving God means doing all these things and I just do it for the sake of doing it, pride develops, we become the right people, we're doing it all right, we believe all the right things. We actually, we derail the whole point of spiritual practice when we misunderstand love God. You see, when we misunderstand love God, we become people of pride and arrogance and violence. We think we know best. So here's what I don't want us to miss. To love God, whenever you hear me say that, I want to define my term according to Jesus in Matthew, according to what I think love is based upon empirical data, right? To love God is to care and take responsibility for, to respect, and to understand who we can see. And who can we see? Ourselves and others, the world in which we live. That's what it means to love God. If you don't care for yourself, you will never care for your neighbor. To love yourself with all your heart, to take care of yourself. It will flow out of you naturally to do the same for others. If you don't take responsibility for yourself, this is a good one. I mean, we could preach on this one, but I'm out of time. Like, if you don't take responsibility for yourself and respect yourself, you will never take responsibility and respect other people. If all you and I do is go around blaming everybody else for what's gone wrong in my life and in other people's lives, if I don't ever take responsibility for my attitude, for my actions, for my choices, I will never take responsibility for others. If I don't ever respect myself enough to say no, if I don't respect myself enough to know my limitations, how will I respect others? What is that? To love yourself with all your mind. To love God with all your mind is to know, okay, where can I take responsibility? Where can I be responsible for myself and for others? And here's the thing, if you don't work to know yourself, to understand the soul of who you are, you won't work to know your neighbor. I won't do that. And so in your everyday normal life, how we live this out, this idea of love God, if that's the greatest commandment, it's an action. Loving is an art. I want to encourage you to engage in spiritual practices that promote wholeness and grow your ability to love God. Now, the insider reality is, what did I just say loving God is? It's loving yourself and others. So, engage in spiritual practices that promote wholeness, peace, shalom, and grow your ability to love yourself and to love others. You know, here's the truth about me, and this is just me. I don't even worry about loving God anymore. Don't even think about it. Because I don't know how to do that. Everybody wants to tell me how to love God. Every denomination I've ever been a part of, every church, every institution, every publishing house, everybody wants to tell me how to love God, and it looks different. Every religion wants to tell me how to love God. I get overwhelmed with that. Who's right and who's wrong? And I came to this space many years ago that I said, I'm just going to stop trying to love God so that I can actually love God. And the only way I know to love God is to love you. Because grounded in my understanding of the world is this metaphor that everyone, you are made in the image of God. That in God we live and move and have our being. That God permeates every aspect of what I can see. So when I love and care for and take, then that's my act of love for God. And you know what I found in that personally? A whole lot of peace. A whole lot of comfort. That God is not this egotistical reality, making sure that we love the right way. If we don't love God the right way, if we don't get God's pronouns right, if we don't do this, like, if you say Jehovah instead of Yahweh, God is a big deal. If you don't give the right amount in the offering, if you don't do these things, if you don't say just the right prayer, then you don't love God. And I've just come to believe that God is good, and that if God so loved the world, that the best thing I can do is do the same. And so I want to dive in next week on Easter. We're going to launch a series. It's going to last a long time. It's going to last 9 weeks. And what I want to do is, we're going to do a series called The Healing Path. And this series is going to focus on how do we in our everyday normal lives develop a system that we care for and love ourselves. And in doing that, it creates in us the ability to love and care for others around us. And we're going to talk about our tradition, this Christian tradition, but I'm going to bring in some wisdom from indigenous ways of thinking about wholeness. And we're going to combine this. We're going to say, what can we learn from others who've gone before us, even on the land that we sit right now? And we're not going to appropriate things. We're not going to take indigenous practices that we know nothing about and say, okay, this week I want you to go burn X, Y, and Z and go smudge this. And no, that's cultural appropriation. We're not doing that. But we just want to learn. We want to learn a framework from folks who've been thinking about whole living right from the land that we live on. And how does that relate in its universal nature to our tradition and as people who are following the peacemaking path of Jesus? So we're going to kick that off next week, and you're going to be surprised at how I work that into Easter Sunday message. You're going to be like, what in the world? It's one simple line. If the same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead lives in you, you can find healing and wholeness too, just like Jesus in the resurrection. I can do that with any Easter message, by the way. That's the trick. And this really is a way that we find peace in our lives. And so I really did, we spent, believe it or not, there's kind of a method to this madness. We've spent 6 or 7 weeks laying a foundation for what love is, right? How we accept, but I really want to focus on what does it mean to love ourselves. And I think that that's hard for us because we feel like we're selfish and we feel like that's not what it means to love God. It just produces pride. And I think that's just not true. I think we've had power structures tell us that. That's why, like, most conservative religious environments hated the self-help movement because they were like, wait, you need me, stop. And so why this is such a beautiful thing is it makes the world a better place. It makes you a better person because when this understanding of love God transfers spiritual authority from institutions and from people like me to you, to your life. Because you have to decide what grows in you, your ability to love yourself. What does that look like for you? You make those decisions. And it's not about what I say. I mean, I can offer some suggestions. Hopefully you'll still come and be a part of things. So what is it that God's inviting you into today? Well, I hope that some of you will start thinking about how well you're loving yourself. Like, is your love of others a direct reflection of the care you provide for yourself, the responsibility you take for yourself? Like, just think about that. Pray about it. Maybe just take this time of communion to just ask yourself that question, to sit in the presence of one another where the divine is manifest in a unique way, and just ask that question. Maybe it's to this week somehow take one step towards creating a plan that will cultivate wholeness in your heart, in your soul, in your mind, to use all of those things. Maybe some of us just need to take responsibility for ourselves and our path to wholeness. It's on me. I have to take responsibility. I have to be the one to create and cultivate the plan, to live into it. So we're going to finish this whole series with what I think is a beautiful song. And we've done it a few times. This song's called Simple Gospel. If you're able to, if you'll stand with me. Remember, the table for communion is open to everyone. You don't have to understand it. You just need to experience it. These symbols are symbols of love and inclusion. And so you are welcome to come and receive as we sing this song. But this song, Simple Gospel, has this lyric that I think sums it all up. It says, Lord, I've been told to be ashamed. Lord, I've been told I don't measure up. Lord, I've been told I'm not good enough. Does that resonate? Anybody ever felt that way? Yeah. But here's the truth. You're here with me, the song says. God, you're here with me. And I reach out and you find me in the dust and you say this, that no amount of untruths can separate us. Gosh, we need that. That no amount of untruths can separate. And this song seems to capture the idea behind one final quote from Eric Fromm in his book, The Art of Loving. I'm going to give you one final one. And I love this one. It says this. It says, in the dominant Western religious system, which most of us grew up in, which most of us have experienced in some way, shape, or form, the love of God is essentially the same as the belief in God, the belief in God's existence, the belief in God's justice, the belief in God's love. The love of God is essentially a thought experience. Do I believe all the doctrines? And Fromm goes on, he says, but in Eastern religions and mysticisms, including Christian mysticism, the mysticism within our own tradition, the love of God is an intense feeling experience. Whew. It's a feeling experience of oneness, of unity. Unity with one another, unity with God's oneness. And it's inseparably linked with the expression of this love in every act of living. Isn't that good? We know God not because we understand all these doctrines, but because we've found union in an experience. And it's in that union that it's intertwined with everything we do in our lives. And it seems to me that that is a great descriptor of the peacemaking path of Jesus, that it leads us to an intense feeling of oneness with the divine. And that intense feeling is inseparably linked with the expression of this love in everyday normal living. So the body of Christ broken for you, and the blood of Christ shed for you. And I pray that you will find that experience, and that you will love yourself, and that you will love others, and that you will in no way, shape, or form be consumed with if you're loving God. Because you have such confidence in knowing when I love what I see, I am inevitably loving what I can't see.
I want to know you, Lord, like I know a friend. I want to know you, Lord. I want to know you, Lord, like I know a friend. I want to know you, Lord. So I'm laying down all my religion. I'm laying down. I want to know you, Lord. I'm laying down all my religion. I'm laying down. I want to know you, Lord. I used to think that I could box you in, but I'm laying down. I want to know you, Lord. I used to think that I could box you in, but I'm laying down. I want to know you, Lord. I'm laying down all my religion. I'm laying down. I want to know you, Lord. I'm laying down all my religion. I'm laying down. I want to know you, Lord. Want to know you, Lord. Lord, I've been told to be ashamed. Lord, I've been told I don't measure up. Lord, I've been told I'm not good enough, but you're here with me. I reach out and you find me in the dust. They know amount of untruths can separate us. I reach out and you find me in the dust. Say no amount of untruths can separate us. I will rejoice the simple gospel. I will rejoice in you, Lord. I will rejoice in the simple gospel. I will rejoice in you, Lord. I reach out and you find me in the dust. Say no amount of untruth can separate us. I will rejoice in the simple gospel. Will rejoice in you, Lord. I will rejoice in the simple gospel. I will rejoice in you, Lord.
Speak to me when the silence stills my voice. You understand me. You understand me. Come to me in the valley of unknowns. You understand me. You understand me. You understand me, God. You understand me. So I throw all my cares before you. My doubts and fears don't scare you. You're bigger than I thought you were. You're bigger than I thought. So I stop all negotiations with the God of all creation. You're bigger than I thought you were. You're bigger than I thought. I Leave the rest in the Father's hands. I will rest in the Father's hands. Leave the rest in the Father's hands. I will rest in the Father's hands. Leave the rest in the Father's hands. I will rest in the Father's hands. Leave the rest in the Father's hands. So I throw all my cares before you. My doubts and fears don't scare you. You're bigger than I thought you were. You're bigger than I thought. So I stop all negotiations with the God of all creation. You're bigger than I thought you were. You're bigger than I thought. You're so much bigger than I thought you were. You're bigger than I thought. I will rest in the Father's hands. Leave the rest in the Father's hands. I will rest in the Father's hands. Leave the rest in the Father's hands.
Would you all pray with me? God, thank you. Thank you for your love and for this understanding of love, to love you, to love others, and to receive your love. Such a hard thing to do, to think about receiving your love and allowing that to fill us up enough to love others. But what a powerful proclamation. To follow your lead, God, as you said, that as it says in the Bible, that for God so loved the world, and may we do the same. And as we come into this Holy Week and have an incredible opportunity to engage with you through our Good Friday experiences and in Easter Sunday next weekend, God, I pray for those times that we would pursue you, and that we would pursue your love, and that we would pursue things in our lives and our opportunities and activities that promote wholeness. And continue to try to love and care for those around us. And it's your name we pray. Amen. Well, thank you. You may be seated. And in just a moment, we're going to have our host come forward to receive our offering cards and connect cards. And so if you want to start pulling those out for donations and whatnot. But so while we're getting those ready, we have a few final reminders. So as you're getting that connect card out, remember there are a few things on the back to look at. And every spring, we like to check in with our families. And on the back of this, just in the spring, never the rest of the year, but That's not true. We check in a lot. But in the spring, we want to check in on a few things. And you'll see a checkbox for baby dedications, or baby and child dedications. So if you want to look at that, this is something that if you've been waiting for with your family, please check that box. And a team member will be in touch with you soon. And today is the last day to grab your free tickets to the Good Friday experience this coming Friday. So if you've been procrastinating, this is your moment. Go ahead and pull out your phone right now. This is not a drill. Grab your phone. You can scan this QR code right up here on the screen. And this is for the Good Friday experience, and it's centered around dinner, stories, and music. And it will be this Friday at 6 p.m. And childcare is available for your kiddos up through 5th grade, and they'll need a ticket as well. So if you're interested in that, please do so on this QR code right now. Grab your tickets. And I'm being told that after this morning, the tickets will not be available. So get on it. That's the point with that. Finally, we want to encourage you all to use that card to use the card in your program to invite a friend to Easter. There's like a little postcard in there. You can take that and give it to your friends. Shake it around there. That's great. Yeah, there it is, right there. We know that a personal invitation is the most effective way to share the message and mission of Crossroads. So you can have that card and take that and hand it out. So. All right, well, that's all I have for you today. I'll ask the room host to come forward and collect those Connect cards and donations right now, and then we'll get you on your way.
Reach out now and take a hand. Help somebody while we can. Things will get better when we learn to love somebody, love somebody. Reach out now and take a hand. Help somebody while we can. Things will get better when we learn to love somebody, love somebody. Reach out now and take a hand. Help somebody while we can. Things will get better when we learn to love somebody, love somebody. Reach out now and take a hand. Help somebody while we can. Things will get better when we learn to love somebody, love somebody. So come on, all my sisters and brothers. We can all give a little more help to each other when it's all been said and done. They're gonna know it's by our love. When it's all been said and done, they're gonna know it's by our love.
All right. Well, stand on up for our blessing. We'll get you out of here. Thank you so much for being here today. Happy Palm Sunday, everyone. We're going to celebrate Easter 9 and 11. I would encourage you to come out for Good Friday if you can. I don't think we can fully appreciate Sunday until we pause and realize and understand and experience the weight of Good Friday. If you're having trouble with the QR code, you're not sure that you got signed up, you can text me. You have the number. Just text me your name and how many people are coming, and if you have kids coming, and I'll pass that along to the right folks, okay? All right. You can raise your arms to receive our blessing today. May you be empowered today to embrace the freedom that comes with understanding that loving God is not bound by religious rituals or obligations, but is made real through your love for yourself and your neighbor. And may you courageously release expectations and pressures imposed on you by institutions, trusting instead the quiet voice within you that calls you toward authentic care and respect, responsibility, and knowledge. And may your spiritual practices be sources of freedom, nurturing your heart and your mind and your soul so profoundly that love flows effortlessly from your life. And may you go from here into your everyday, normal, peacemaking life with boldness, knowing you are deeply loved, you are wonderfully enough, and infinitely capable of love. Amen. Have an awesome week, everyone.